Yeah, well, here in Perry Bar, there was a real celebratory atmosphere today. What the Prime Minister was keen to talk about was the Commonwealth Games, the £600 million worth of government investment, the 35,000 jobs that is creating or has created. Earlier in the day, though, he was in Stoke, where, as you say, people are not celebrating. They are suffering. Now, the reason he went there is because that city is in receipt of £56 million worth of so-called levelling up money. But when you ask the people there if they feel levelled up, not so much. Boris Johnson's away day cabinet at Middleport Pottery in Stoke today was intended to signal the importance of the levelling up agenda.
Good to see you.
But at another of the city's potteries, Tracy Shaw made it clear that it will take much more than gestures for the Tories to hang on to the votes they were lent here because of Brexit.
I used to be proud of living in Stoke and, manufacturing, and now it's like we walk down the street and you think, gosh, this is just poverty around here now. I think it's just a publicity stunt. He won't come anywhere near us. He'll just go somewhere nice, show his face and then go back down London.
But this is one small business owner who doesn't see Labour as a serious alternative, despite the need for everyone to trim.
I just think the bottom line will be everybody will just get used to it. This is not going to go down as quick as it went up, i.e. petrol, gas, electric. Me personally, I just think Boris, for small businesses, which we've got a small business, he's been fantastic.
But in one of the most deprived parts of this most deprived of cities, Jane Jackson faces a daily uphill struggle that she says the Prime Minister simply wouldn't understand. Her disabled daughter's stairlift and the power it needs, just two of the things she cannot do without.
He doesn't realise what it's like to be on a basic income, a low wage, petrol for the car, gas, electric, food, clothes. It feels like everything has gone up except for the income. It's scary, knowing whether we're going to be able to carry on affording the things that we need.
£56 million has come Stoke's way as part of the levelling up agenda. But with inflation almost in double figures, the power of that money to effect change is diminishing daily. And the people we spoke to today certainly aren't feeling its benefits.
Callum, you spoke to the Prime Minister this afternoon. Did he respond to any of the concerns that we've just heard about?
Yeah, we had a chat. He did in his way. He talked a lot about employment, the kind of employment generated by projects like this. He feels very strongly that kind of growth is the key, the route out of this mess. Lots of people, though, now calling for emergency measures, an emergency budget, emergency tax cuts, perhaps even a windfall tax on the energy companies. And I started by asking Mr. Johnson why there has not been the kind of emergency intervention in this crisis that we saw in the COVID crisis 2 years ago.
What we have now is the aftershocks of COVID, and that is affecting particularly the price of energy, and that's a global thing. So you've got to deal with the price of energy, for the cost of energy for people. Number one, you deal with it by helping people directly with the cash payments that we're giving. But what you've also got to do, and that's what we were talking about in Stoke, you've got to make sure that you're dealing with a long-term supply, so that businesses across the country are paying less, and that families are paying less for their energy and for everything else. And that is the agenda. That is the agenda of the government.
What you're talking about now, these things are going to take some time to filter through. We spoke to a woman today.
Yeah.
She doesn't have enough electricity. She's worried about the cost of electricity to power the stairlift that takes her disabled daughter upstairs. So never mind heating or eating. She's worried about how she's going to get her child to her bedroom.
And we're making
she
sure.
Says, she says that you don't understand what it's like to live on a basic wage. Now, and your cabinet don't either. Now, what would you say to that?
Look, I think everybody understands, and I certainly, every morning I get up thinking, what are we going to do to help people get through this? Because it is going to be tough, and clearly Putin's invasion hasn't helped with the price of energy, and we've got to manage it for people, and that means so for families, for people who are facing particular hardship, you've got to give them support.
You know, there's a bit of a disconnect here, frankly, today between the celebration and the anticipation ahead of the Commonwealth Games, and then looming over everything, this cost of living crisis. The fact is that 2 months ago, all these things, inflation, the cost of food, the cost of fuel, were less than they are today. 2 months down the road, when the opening ceremony gets underway here, nobody, I'm afraid the impression I got today, not even Boris Johnson, knows how bad this is going to get.